Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Megan Dowling, and thanks for tuning in to my Healthy Families Facebook Live video series, where I'm dedicated to bringing you research-based, unbiased, and important information to help keep you and your family happy and healthy. So today I had a whole plan about what I was going to talk about today, but something happened last night that I felt like was extremely important to talk about today. So let's dive right in. Yesterday, my daughter went on a field trip to the Redwoods up at UCSC, and she built forts and was in the forest playing around. And she came back to school. Her teachers checked her for ticks and didn't find any. And that night, when she was getting ready for her bath, she asked me to check this tiny little speck that was on her stomach. And I assumed it was just a piece of dirt, so I tried to wipe it away, but it was attached. And as I looked closer, I saw that it was a tiny, tiny tick, which, if you know anything about ticks and the diseases they carry, the tiny ones are the worst ones. So the crazy thing is that I read an article on the importance of making a tick kit just literally 2 days ago, and I felt like this was so important that I posted it on my personal Facebook page. The article went into what to keep in your tick kit, how to remove the tick, and what to do with it afterwards. It said to get the tick out as soon as possible because each second it spends feeding increases your risk for it spreading the diseases it has to you. So thank goodness I read this article, because I jumped into action and pulled that tick right off her skin. I made sure that I got all the pieces off the skin, that the mouth parts weren't attached still. And then I cleaned the area with some alcohol like the article said to do, and I also threw on some iodine as well. So the author of this article suffers from chronic debilitating Lyme's disease, and she went in the article to say that if she knew anyone who got bit by a tick, she would personally recommend getting prophylactic antibiotics because the side effects of the antibiotics are minimal compared to dealing with the constant torture of having chronic incurable Lyme's disease. So, knowing this information, I decided, it was late last night, it was like around 7 o'clock, so I decided to call the advice nurse at our pediatrician's office. I know that the sooner you get treated, the more successful chance you have of avoiding being affected with Lyme. So when I got her on the phone, the advice nurse asked whether my daughter was exhibiting any symptoms of Lyme. Which she obviously wasn't, because I literally had just pulled the tick right off of her, and symptoms of Lyme don't develop for 2 to 4 weeks after you've been bit. So she went on then to explain that it's not their protocol to give antibiotics after a tick bite. They only give them after you start developing symptoms of Lyme, which in the case of my research, it can be too late. So, let's dive more into what Lyme disease is and why getting early treatment is of utmost importance. According to the Bay Area Lyme Foundation, Lyme disease is the fastest growing infectious disease in the United States, and many experts are especially concerned about this year because of the wet winter that we've had. Untreated Lyme disease can become severely debilitating, affecting joints, the heart, the brain, and the central nervous system. The Lyme bacteria itself is classified as a spirochete, which is unique in that it can evade the immune system and make it very difficult to diagnose. It is paramount to treat Lyme early before it can hide into your tissues and multiply within your bloodstream. And antibiotic treatment is recommended within the first 72 hours of getting bit by a tick. So, ticks not only transmit Lyme, but they are responsible for a host of other diseases as well. such as babesiosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, ehrlichiosis, Bartonella, tick-borne relapsing fever, and Powassan virus, as well as something called tick paralysis. And tick paralysis was the case in a recent video that went viral just a couple of days ago of a little girl who was paralyzed temporarily after being bitten by a tick. I'm going to post this video in the comment section below because it's very disturbing. So in the case of Lyme disease, it does take time for the Lyme bacteria to travel from the tick to the host, and generally it's believed that if the tick is removed within 24 hours, the likelihood of infection is minimal. But other pathogens like the Powassan virus can be transmitted in as quickly as 15 minutes after the tick bite. So when I was in chiropractic college, our microbiology teacher taught us all about tick-borne diseases and showed us slide after slide of the bacteria and the diseases that they caused, and I've been petrified of ticks ever since. So when one tick had appeared to bite my 5-year-old daughter, you can understand the panic that I felt and that I'm honestly still feeling today. So back to me being on the phone with the advice nurse, who was telling me that prophylactic treatment for Lyme was unnecessary. She went on to say that if I wanted to do something, I could get her a tetanus booster. And this was ridiculous advice, as I assumed and then later verified, because there's been no evidence that ticks carry the tetanus bacteria. So I said no thanks to the tetanus booster, and I said, okay, well, I want to send this tick into a lab that can test it to see if it has the Lyme bacteria or any of the other diseases. And she said that no lab does this type of testing. So basically, at the very least, the advice nurse was extremely unhelpful, but in reality, she was actually full of completely wrong information. All I had to do was Google tick testing, and a number of labs popped up that offer this service of testing ticks that have bitten you or you just find in the environment, testing them for Lyme disease and the other diseases that they may carry. So the lab I decided to send the tick off to is called Bay Area Lyme Foundation, where they offer free testing not only for Lyme disease but for other tick-borne diseases as well. And you get the results within 5 to 7 days, which you'd want to start antibiotic treatment as soon as possible after if you've had if a Lyme positive tick has bitten you, but 5 to 7 days is a pretty fast turnaround. So if the tick comes back positive for Lyme or any other disease, then I have the evidence I need to start an antibiotic regimen with my daughter. And if it comes back negative, then hopefully I can sleep again at night. So I'll post a link to their foundation in the comments below, as well as the article that thankfully I recently read regarding creating a tick kit, which I now believe is more paramount than ever. Being prepared and preventing tick-borne illness is so important, as the results of getting a disease like Lyme disease could literally ruin yours or your child's life. So I'm planning this video to be at least a 2-part series, and I'll let you know where we're at in this process next week. So for now, take care and check for ticks.